So, hi.
Hi.
Here. Can you please give me your first name, your last name, and spell it?
Okay, Wayne White, W-A-Y-N-E, W-H-I-T-E.
Okay. And where do you live now?
I live in Barre, Vermont.
And how do you spell that?
B-A-R-R-E,
Okay.
V-E-R-M-O-N-T.
That's fine. Okay. And then where are you originally from?
I was born and brought up in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Somerville?
Yeah.
Okay. And which ships were you stationed on?
Charles R. Ware.
Okay.
At Mayport, Florida. Once it was Frammed, I was with the Fram group
Okay.
when I got out of boot camp. And then went to Mayport, Florida and spent the rest of the time. The Ware was the only ship that I served on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was
So-
there for 3.5 years.
Wow.
I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1941.
And raised? Is that where you
And I-
grew up?
Somerville, Massachusetts.
Okay. Why did you go into the U.S. Navy, and where did you enlist?
I don't know why I went in the Navy, to be honest with you. But I enlisted in the Fargo building in Boston, Massachusetts. That's where I sworn in.
What year did you, were you sworn in?
Well, I was actually 59.
You went in
Yeah,
1959.
yeah.
Now,
November of 69.
well, so,
59, I'm sorry.
what made you go to the recruiter? Like, how did you even get in touch with the Navy to go?
Well, I had graduated high school, not happy with the job that I had. It wasn't going to go anywhere. And I decided, I'll try the military, see what that's like. So I went to the recruiter in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He talked me into going to the Navy because the Navy was the first one in line.
So that worked out.
So that worked out.
I had another question, but we'll move on. Any interesting experiences? Did you have any interesting experiences in boot camp? Tell me a little bit about boot camp.
Well, for the first 2 weeks I didn't keep a meal down.
Wow.
About that. And we got an evening off in boot camp. I forgot now exactly whether it was halfway point or whatever. And I went to a Navy, I call it an AC-doocy club, but it wasn't. But I was sitting there listening to the Everly Brothers.
There's a moment you remember?
Yeah, one of the songs, I was saying to myself, Wayne, what the hell did you do to yourself? Again.
So you enjoy boot camp, huh? Now, what did you think about boot camp?
Yeah, it was crazy, but it wasn't, I don't think it was like the Army. It just, they didn't run the hell out of you. Mentally they did, but you did lots of stupid stuff that you didn't know what was for, but they were just training you, really.
Did you see later when you went out to the fleet, were you able to see what they were doing in boot camp? Did it equate to transitioning?
Well, no, I think that, I went from boot camp to A school. As the recruiters said, he wanted me, they needed electricians in the Navy. I wanted to be an engineman, which turned out that if I wanted a school, it was any school that the Navy was going to give me. So I went to Electricians mates reluctantly because I had the choice of either the school or go to sea. I said, well, I'll get something out of, because I enlisted for 4 years. So I went to school, sorted myself out, graduated from that, and then went to the Ware. But the Ware was being framed in New York at that point in time. She was nothing but a steel canoe when I reported aboard.
So are you a plank owner then?
No.
Oh.
No, this was Fram.
Fram, okay, a
modernized,
refram, right.
That was 1961.
Well, so the next question, what ship were you assigned to? How long were you stationed on it, on the Ware?
I spent 3.5 years. I went right from A school to to the ship. I served. I never left the ship.
So as far as Fram, can you talk a little bit about that? Basically, or from your memory or whatever, what you recall,
Well,
some of the changes that,
well,
did you get to see
yeah.
those changes yourself?
Oh yeah, I seen the ship built. It was actually just a hull. It was a steel canoe. It was in
Right.
dry dock, and there was nothing inside it.
Wow. And so did you stay on a barge at the point in that time?
No, the building just off the shipyard on Flushing Ave.
Oh, okay.
That's where we were all billeted. And then, I just watched the ship come up.
What were some of the changes, if you can recall?
Well, just everything because they built the ship while I was there.
Right.
Just all the machinery went back together. I knew I was going to be an electrician, so I got a notebook and I got, for once in my life, I got smart and tried ahead of stuff. And I logged in all the boxes, all the electrical boxes on the whole ship, where they were and whatever. And basically we do a lot of fire watches, while the yard workers welded and stuff like that.
Everybody had to do that, huh?
Yeah,
It didn't matter what rate you were, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of the rotation there.
But then it ended up, the Constellation had a big fire, aircraft carrier, was next pier to us.
Wow.
They took all the yard workers off, so it went dull for a while there.
Wow.
And then it was not so from there, putting the ship back together again, because we were behind on everything.
Well, did you guys have to stop and try to help the
No,
Constellation fire?
it was all yard workers. They took all the yard workers off and anybody else that they had,
We just had a fire in San Diego. What was the name of the ship again? I just totally blanked out.
Was it the Bonhomme shot?
Yeah, is it? Yes, the Bonhomme Richard. Did that bring back memories when you heard about that?
Well, no.
Because
Yeah, that's it. It just brought it back memory. But
Right.
we didn't participate in the fire.
right, but the ships
Just the
this
end
time
result.
did. They were pulling crews from the other
Right.
ships on the piers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you guys kind of were lucky they didn't pull it, but you said it still kind of pulled them behind though. Your
Yeah.
ship
Oh, yeah.
fell off a
Oh, yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
What made them fall off a schedule?
Because the yard workers were
Oh.
all.
Oh, 'cause they were
took,
all there.
took everybody.
So what was the main job you had to do for your rate, and what did it entail?
No, basically it was electrician. So anything connected with, wiring underway. So that is, you were basically, you spent 8 hours a day on watch, 4-hour shifts. So, like I particularly, I spent my whole career on the floor of the engine room, with the watches there.
Keeping the lights on. What
Well,
other things?
lights, motors, we burnt it because, all of the motors on the ship were taken off. They were supposed to be rehabbed, but they went into a warehouse, and because of the fire, they never got rehabbed.
Oh
So
no!
now we lost a number of, well, we were supposed to go from, New York to Mayport, Florida. She was transferred from Norfolk, or at that point in time, but we burnt out so many motors because actually we were in 62, there was a big storm, and we spent 3 days going from up and down the East Coast looking for ships that, tugboats that had sunk and stuff. I mean, there was
Wow.
like crazy things like that went on. Then we went to Norfolk because we had so many motors. I mean, we actually lost fire flushing pumps. And we had to have them rewound. And the ship went out with a brand new paint job on it, and 3 days later, she was back to prime because of
The weather.
the weather. Yeah.
Wow. Did you
So-
know something?
Just real quick, what was in watching Ford engine for Electricians made, what exactly did that entail? Were you electrical switchboard, forward electrical switchboard? Did you?
Yeah.
What did you keep
I stood the switchboard watches.
What did that entail?
basically nothing as far as I'm concerned, as long as, you did you checked the generator out, make sure the oil and everything was working on that. And, you basically, I learned the machinist mate right while I was on switchboard. You just, you were only 3 feet away from it, basically,
How many electricians worked in the same space?
There was, in the same space.
Well, yeah. Were you the only one assigned to that one area?
We had 8 electricians on board. That's what the billet called for. But, I actually, nobody wanted the forward engine room, so I took it.
Aw, you're nice.
But,
What a great
no,
shipmate.
I enjoyed the mechanic. I still was, I like the mechanical trades. So down there.
So you were happy.
Actually, in my fireman test, I beat the machinist mates that were going through 8 school. It turns out I had a first-class electrician, and the chief machinist mate were betting on, my electrician was betting on me and the chief, and I won. I beat the guy by 1 point.
Wow. Very good.
Machinist mate was bullshit for a while, but then realized I was more interested in the machinery than I was the electrical.
So did you get to work with them too, or?
Well, yeah, because he was a World War II chief and believed everybody that was in the space ought to know everybody's job. Right. And I actually, a couple of times, actually run the throttles underway.
Wow.
Because we'd have a failure. And it worked out great for him. I mean, he was thrilled that, I participated in the crew, we all rotated, and he could take everybody that was on watch, attack the problem. And I put the phones on them, made for fresh water, took the readings because I had a long umbilical cord on the headphones and stuff because you're talking to the bridge. Of course, first thing out of the bridge is, who are you? And you answer, well, what are you on the throttles? Because we have a problem.
Wow.
Can you do the job? The chief says I can do the job, and I'm doing it.
That sounds like a typical Navy story.
But it was fun.
That's great.
Because basically you're just watching meters when you're underway. I mean, you're just there for an emergency situation if something happens, and but machine, engine rooms ain't very big, and they're never far away. It wasn't like I could go wander around the ship.
Right. What was your first thoughts when you saw your ship?
Well, I think we've gone through that.
Right, you said it
My first standing up here looking at it, because I had taken a train from Boston, Massachusetts to New York City, and I had my sea bag, and security at the yard told me where the ship was, but they didn't tell me the situation. They let me lug that sea bag across the yard to the ship. And I'm standing there with a sea bag. There was a sign saying Charles R. Ware on it. But it was a steel canoe. There was no place to go for it.
Wow. Well, they had to have a watchstander there, though, right?
No.
Nobody was there?
Yeah, it was just,
was
at
just
that point in
stripped
time,
down?
it was like 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Once your ship was back up and running and no longer the canoe, where was your battle or workstation? I know you said front, but during firefighting and stuff, where did you have to go?
Well, I went to firefighting in Bayonne, New Jersey, while we were framing the ship.
Well, where was during the drills and stuff? Where were you? Your battle
Forward
station.
engine room. I lived in the forward engine
You didn't
room.
get to leave even during battle stations.
Oh yeah. There was times that I spent 3 days in that machine room without leaving, other than using the bathroom or whatever.
Right.
But,
Holy moly.
I guess I'd give you box lunches and stuff, but
Wow.
because I was in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And
Where was your berthing area?
that,
The engine room?
no,
You didn't get to leave.
He slept in the reduction kit.
well, at times I was actually relieved to go to we had a shop just outside of M&D division. I slept on the bench there. because I was close to the emergency generator. They took the guy that was in emergency generators. You put him in where I was. I got 3 or 4 hours sleep and go back again.
But where was your actual rack?
Well,
If they ever let you go to it.
You know, it's the Allie Burke Museum
Well,
now.
on the Ware though, you know that it was the after space, right?
You know, what was that compartment? I don't even remember what the compartment was called.
It was just after birthing, I think.
After birthing, then,
Nick, where Mount 52 is, right? The handling room and all
yeah,
that?
yeah.
So here's a chance for you to relay any other interesting, because you've been telling me all kinds of interesting stories, but is there any other interesting story about the time on your ship that you want to share?
Well,
Cuba, maybe.
going back to being a crazy kid, Tech Force were working on one of the exhaust vents, the screening, the metal expanded steel screening, and they dropped an angle iron down and it went into the impeller of the exhaust fan in the forward engine room. So they needed somebody skinny that would go down into the ducting, and like I volunteered. I hadn't learned my lesson. So they tied a rope around my waist and I went down in the ducting. I mean, the ducting is the width of my shoulders.
Wow.
And it dropped down from the main deck down into the overhead. So you're going to make a 90-degree turn. And I got a flashlight in my mouth and my hands in front of me. And I got this stupid rope around me.
Wow.
Now that I think about it. And now I'm looking at, you know, I can see the impeller. And I'd already taken the wires off of that motor to make sure that it never, you know, they didn't get it started. Because it was going to be a meat grinder.
Right.
There was no way that I was not going to get sucked into that thing. And I took one look at that angle iron and I started to lose it.
Oh.
And I grabbed myself finally, you know, just, I mean, I tried to rotate in that ducking and
Couldn't do
it wasn't going to happen. And I got a hold of myself. I said, I'm down here to get that piece of iron out of there. I got that piece of iron, grabbed it, and they pulled me back up and up. You know,
So you saved the day.
yeah,
Very good.
just the nutso stuff.
Well, a lot of that happens out there, right? This is a good opportunity. You want to tell us a little bit about your mission on the Ware with the Cuban Missile Crisis. What did you guys have to do? Where were you coming from when you had to deploy? And
Well, I made two med trips and one North Atlantic trip. And, loved the Navy, enjoyed going anywhere and everywhere. We spent a lot of time at sea, which a lot of people were not happy with, but I loved it. It was great, you know.
so when you got the call for the missile crisis, were you guys already out at sea on your way down to Gitmo? Were you down?
Another crazy situation. We had just gone into Mayport. We were going to have a 3-month overhaul in Mayport. We had the ship half torn apart.
Oh.
And I happened to be on duty. And I had a Navy license, driver's license. They called everybody off the ship, all lined up. Okay, who's got a Navy license? Stand forward. Stood forward. And they said, we're going to give you a truck, Navy pickup truck, and want you now go, because it's what people had already gone home for, you know, that lived in the area. List the names, and go get them, and bring them back.
So you had to knock on doors?
Yep.
How was
So
that?
list
So
the
what?
address. Oh yeah.
So tell me, what was the weirdest response that you got while you were knocking on
Well,
the
it
door?
was all the same. Nobody believed it. Because it was, you know, things I don't want to say here. Yeah.
What
I mean,
happened?
I actually, you know, went there and told them.
So how about
"You gotta
how many?
come back."
How many did you have to, do you recall
I think it
around?
was like 10 people, 10, 12 people, I forgot now.
Right.
What did you guys have to do when you got back to the ship? Immediately get ready for deploy?
Oh yeah, because we, the machinist mates, the firemen had all, the BTs had all had serious stuff. We only had one shaft that was able to run on.
Holy crap. So they had to get it all back together.
Yep, we put it together.
How long did you have before you guys were going underway? 24
that
hours?
next morning.
Yeah. Oh, not even
Yeah.
24
It
hours.
was overnight.
Holy crap.
They just told them. I mean, I'm talking to some of the officers. Of course, I'm still in dungarees.
Right. You were on board that night already? You said you were on
Oh
board.
yeah, I was on duty.
Okay. You were part of the duty crew
Yeah,
then.
so but it was the same reception, Why you got a Navy vehicle and you're in, dungarees?
Oh, out in town.
At that point in time.
Yeah.
It's just,
Wow.
can't give them any answer because they didn't tell me, We're
So-
just gonna, there's something big going on.
Right. They didn't tell
you.
you right away. You didn't
Yeah.
know what was going on. Everybody
course,
just knew.
yeah.
Right.
The ship can't go, it's going. We're on one shaft and it's gonna go, and that's when we left.
So you guys went to the Cuban blockade with one shaft?
Yep. Well, we put it all back together on the way.
Oh, yeah. So what did you guys find when you went down there?
Well, we just,
What part did you play? What did the Ware have to do?
we just, we were a part of the blockade. They just stationed us there.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is that like the next morning when I got, I don't know whether I came off watch or whatever, but I hadn't been outboard. And I went out and everywhere that you could look was naval vessels. I mean, used to, not seeing anything. I mean, I didn't think we had that many ships on the East Coast. I mean, they were everywhere, in all different sizes. Of course, we still didn't know what was really going on.
Well, where did you get on station? Do you know? Because the 22nd was when the President Kennedy had done his thing. So I've studied some of this. So I know some of the ships, they heard the president's speech on board. Did you guys get to hear?
No, we
you
didn't
guys
have
didn't get to
anything.
hear. Wow, so you guys are really in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
That's craziness.
Well, we had, one of the interesting things with that whole, while we were on plane guard, is at like 2 o'clock in the morning, we got a general quarters. This is not a drill.
Oh.
And for the first time being on the Ware, was the only time we ever were on station on time. Because, I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not on watch. I got my jeans in one hand and shoes in the other, and running up the main deck, got dressed in the engine room. And then, we were full by that gear. I realized, they actually, because my station, so I was like the Kennedy, it's a sister ship to the Kennedy, really. And so I'm at the switchboards, we're not fooling around, right? This is, general quarters. They closed up the hatch. The chief on watch was the last one down there. He come down with a 45. I said, uh-oh. And I could hear them lock the hatch on the, I said, well, this is it.
It's the real deal, huh?
Yeah, the real deal, because you're not leaving, no matter what happens.
So my next question is kind of about, did you see any combat during the time? I would say
No.
that would probably been one of the closest time, like you just said.
Oh, yeah.
This is not
Because-
a drill.
Yeah, oh yeah, because we didn't know, it turned out that one of the aircraft had lost radio communication or signal or beacon, some stupid thing, but, it ain't gonna, as far as I'm concerned, it can't get any more serious than actually taking fire. You're that close because, your head starts to work, you're looking at it saying, okay, we're down here with 600 pounds screen, it's 700 degrees, everything around you is 450, everything is open,
Right.
we take a hit, that's the end of it,
So you guys got the expedition, you're on the expeditionary, didn't you? Medal for that?
No, I don't, I
You don't know?
never received any of that, no.
Really? I'll have to look for you.
Yeah.
Because basically anybody that was down there, I think, got the expeditionary
Yeah,
medal.
I got out 3 days before, I got out just before my time was up because the ship was going to sea. So I never even got to do,
When did you
good
leave?
conduct medal.
Oh,
You know.
well, but you have it, right? You got it as
No,
part
I
of.
never,
I mean, but you're allowed to wear it, aren't you?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But, if I
Yeah, I mean, you just didn't get it all nice, fancy write-up and somebody handing it
no,
to
I
you.
never got any of it.
Right. Well, you probably could get the expeditionary. I will look. I have
Oh,
the
yeah.
list.
Well, I believe I'm gonna get, the Vietnam is, qualified for that, I guess.
No, Cuban Missile Crisis expedition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't know
But,
about
yeah,
that.
The ship carries it on her ribbons.
Yeah.
Because I was a
Which means that you would wear it too
Yeah.
on yours.
Yeah.
It just never was a big deal. I figured once I was out of the Navy, I was out.
We gotta
Right.
move it a little faster, I think.
All right. Do you have any certain time that you recall about your ship and crew? Any other moments? Something about the crew?
No, not really. It's pretty,
Many believe serving on a destroyer is a special thing. What are your thoughts about serving on a Navy destroyer?
my thoughts are I grew up in the Navy. Really, I went from a kid to an adult, or I went as far as they ever did in development in that area.
How did your service and experience affect your life?
And I don't know, a lot of, it's hard to qualify, but it just, you met a lot of people you didn't know much about, their lifestyle,
Or being able to travel?
Oh yeah, the travel was, yeah. As far as I was concerned, I was single at the time. I could care less about being in Mayport, Florida, or anybody else in the state. It was great. The mid trips were great. North Atlantic, I loved it. Just keep the ship going.
But how did the Navy prepare you for your life after the Navy?
Well, I think it carried on through my whole life. It's I developed attitudes and dealing with people of all different types and everything else, and your close quarters, living with guys 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you develop all kinds of life skills, and I think it just gave me a big acceptance and that nobody lives the same life I do. It's just,
Well,
all different nationalities, colors, whatever, races,
Well, it opened up a new job trade for you. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
prior to
I
going in.
I made a lifetime, the Navy, I've made my life's work has been electricity. I learned it in the Navy. I went into it with a bad attitude with that school because I didn't want it. I graduated in the top half of my class because I goofed off probably a month out of the schooling. And not being interested in, just overwhelming. If it wasn't for the first class that taught the course, and after hours, I would never have graduated from that foolish school. But, and then, became a journeyman and a master electrician in Massachusetts when I come back to Massachusetts. And then went into the elevator business because I, kind of got bored with that. So I tried that. And spent 30 years in the elevator business, keeping elevators running all over Boston, hospitals, all the works.
Would you do it all over again if you could?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think everybody, male or female, ought to spend 2 years of their life in the military. And at that point in time, they can make a decision whether they're going to stay in the service or go on. I just don't think that most people don't need 4 years of the Navy. I think, I did well. I became an E5 in the 4 years. Well, I actually made it in 2.5 years, but just because I went in the 1st of January, and I was on the right rotation. Because every test I took, I wasn't qualified, but by the time I made the turn through, I had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to the good. And so,
Why do you think it's important to preserve museum ships for posterity?
I'm a big believer in history. If you don't study history, you know, you're going to make the same mistakes as, you know, in the past. And it's been costly getting to this point. And if we don't study it, it's going to be costly in the future.
You know, you spend a lot of time here, you know, coming to field days. What brings you back here? Why do you come and help?
It's back to, it's hard to say. All I know is that the night before, I am very happy about the fact that I'm going to be on my way here in the morning. You know, it's just, you know, this tough work, exasperating. You know, I'm not telling Richie anything new. But, you know, just trying to get stuff done and, you know, limited time, and you're trying to get stuff done. You know, you'll never do as enough to get enough done for what you want to get done.
Right. Yeah, but why do you do it? Like you could be sailing on a boat in Florida. What brings you back to the Kennedy?
I don't know. I have no.
Does it call you?
That's just what I'm saying. Is the day before that thing, I'm really happy about the fact that I'm, you know, tomorrow morning I'm going to be moving. I have a 5-hour drive here, and it ain't a problem, you know. But I you know, come to Massachusetts because my children are here. But you know.
Well, I think that's pretty dedicated, coming 5 hours
Is
away.
it the harassing phone calls that I make to you to come down to the ship?
Well,
I'm just joking.
yeah. Yeah, but it just, I don't know, you know, it's just, whether it's connecting with your youth again or whatever, they head into that thing. I don't want to think too much about it.
All right, just
I'm
keep
not
coming
enough
back.
as it is.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't ask you or that we haven't covered about?
Well, I think, you know, that's pretty much it. Yes.
So what are you doing today? What's on the agenda for, what are you hoping to accomplish today while you're here for the field day?
Basically, I'm relamping the ship because of the time frame and the lack of money that's, you know, was available for lights and stuff. And I'm really concerned about, you know, guests coming on board with too many lights out. That's kind of a priority, but you know, there's other electrical issues I'd like to get to, but to me, the lights are the first thing that you've got to get done. As it, you know, with everything, you put your priorities in. You know, I think it's worthwhile to do that first, and you know, it's the mundane, mindless work. You know, it's just, you know, there's no thought process at this point in time. I've done so many of these that, you know, it's just.
Yeah, how long have you been? How many years, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was late. I mean, I'm only an hour, when I was living in, you know, you know, with a family in Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's an hour away. And I mean, I brought kids down, the Boy Scouts down here as when my kids were small, stayed on the ships and never realized. I thought this was totally held by the you know, the cove. And you know, there was no such thing as volunteer or anything like that, so I didn't even thought about it. Now I think of the time I could have spent here if I had known that, you know, somebody just had said something to me about, you know, somebody's volunteering, and I probably would have been interested in coming down with him. You know, it was a lot of years that I could have been here.
Yeah, well, you're still putting him in now. You don't
Yeah.
even remember how long
Yeah.
you've been doing it, so.
Well, I think it's been roughly 10, 12 years now that, you know, when I first came down here, and then I started coming down, you know, once I found out what it was like. you know,
Yeah.
how much fun I enjoyed it. You know.
And the different people you meet, you still meet different
Oh
people.
yeah, well yeah, different, yeah, a lot of them.
All right.